You like big hair though.
I don't
you
like
do
big hair.
like big hair. You like big hair. You like a lot of makeup and all that.
Actually, I don't.
I don't think any of us have healed from that. Diddy would be like, you're not hot anymore. Like, what happened? You don't have anything. Like, you don't have any curves.
Did he do it, right?
Yeah.
I know you've been heavy on social media talking about it.
He did it. And I'm the only one who's been vocal about this long before.
He goes, yo, but me and you, we ain't party. Like, we need to party. What is he talking about? That's the kind of stuff that when people say that to me, I get a little uncomfortable.
So, do you think Puffy was involved?
I believe so. I do believe so. I have proved things that I can say that will back up my claim, but this is not for the world to know about. You know what I mean? It's between me and him, and only he knows.
We really need to pay attention to the people that have spoken up about Puff Daddy over the years. Former Danity Kane songstress Aubrey Oday alleged that Puff controlled her appearance and controlled other things while filming Making the Band when she was just 21 years old. So she got candid about the criticism she faced while working on the MTV reality series that aired back in 2005 alongside Puff, because, well, he was an executive producer. So she says, I look back at the beginning of Making the Band and Aubrey auditioning, and I'm like, I don't know how I became like the face of the band. And now she said this on an episode of the Crisis Queen podcast, and she said like Puff would be on camera saying how much he hated everything, but then he was off camera telling her all the ways she needed to be looking perfect, like down to her toenails, which, like, I'm sorry, sounds a little weird to me. She alleged that the I'll Be Missing You rapper labeled her the looker of the band and once sent her out of the studio because her toes weren't properly polished. She alleged that this was part of the cycle of harm. She said, with Puff, I saw multiple sides of him. She continued in another part of the interview, but I don't know who I was even talking to that was sober. There was always an element of something going on. She once claimed that Puff forbid her from being friends with a certain very big name person whom he was also involved with, and she said that was the first time he had kind of said, you're not allowed to be around that person ever again. She explained that she knew her unnamed friend's experience with the rapper, and she said that was the first time she started to see the dynamics change with just how he approached her on camera. So Oday was part of Danity Kane until 2008, when she allegedly got booted for not doing what was expected of her. But it wasn't talent-wise, she alleges this was in other areas. She said that on the Call Her Daddy podcast in 2022. After coming off of Puff, there's not many people you can go into a room with and get that type of experience from. That was what she said on the Crisis Queen podcast. I know, lots of podcast appearances, folks. She said, this sort of treatment is a process. You're not just harmed day one. People who do this usually make their victims feel comfortable before flipping a switch. She said she compared it to the military. They break you down and build you back up into the soldier they need you to be for the country they need you to be fighting for. So in April, she alleged that Puffy tried to buy her silence by offering her all sorts of things, and she declined the deal. So good on you for speaking out. One person who has come forward might be able to provide some answers as to why other people are choosing to stay silent. So 50 Cent is not holding back about his longtime rival. He addressed his relationship with Puffy in an interview with The Hollywood Reporter recently. So these two guys worked in the same circles way back in the day, and 50 Cent has explained why he never attended the Bad Boy Records founder's famous parties. Now these are the parties where Puffy allegedly committed some of the heinous acts he's been accused of. So 50 Cent said, I've been very vocal about not going to Puffy parties and doing like that. He said, I've been staying out of that for years. It's just an uncomfortable energy connected to it. He asked to take me shopping. This is what 50 Cent claimed. I thought that was the weirdest thing in the world, because that might be something somebody says, you know, to somebody they want to take out. And 50 Cent was like, nah, I'm not effing with this weird energy or weird coming off the way he was just moving. From that, I wasn't comfortable around him. Now 50 Cent also specifically addressed the 2016 video that emerged earlier this year, the one that shows Puffy attacking Cassie Ventura in a hotel hallway. So he said, and I quote, first he denied that it even happened, and then the tape comes out, so that means everything that says is a lie. And yeah, originally Puffy strongly denied the allegations and all the suits against him. 50 Cent continued, when someone watches that, if they have a daughter and they can imagine her being under those circumstances, that is crazy. Like, they let him get away with it. With all the influence and power you have, the person you're with is supposed to want to be a part of your life, not be forced. And also, by the way, 50 Cent is making a documentary about the allegations against Puffy. So I believe, if I remember correctly, Netflix purchased the rights to the doc back in May, and it's called Diddy Do It, which I appreciate a good pun. So 50 Cent did say that the proceeds from the docuseries would go towards victims of SA. Now when asked like, why are you the person to produce this? 50 Cent said, I'm the only one from hip hop culture that's produced quality projects. We do have a lot of talent within our culture where the talent has developed a comfortability in front of the camera, so they're usually a part of it as an actor or driving force of why someone would watch the project, but not the behind the scenes production, producing the whole project. So there's a difference. So once again, despite the two working very much kind of close together in the early 2000s, 50 Cent has clarified these guys were never friends. He said it was mostly work. I wouldn't call it a friendship because there wouldn't be disappointment between us if we didn't speak to each other. He said there were points where they worked together. Jennifer Lopez actually told Puffy that he should work with 50 Cent as a songwriter in the beginning, and 50 Cent was around at the early stages, and Puffy could have done his record deal at that point. So apparently this happened around the year 2000. But then there was the whole, Puffy following 50 Cent after 50 Cent was, fired at by somebody with a weapon outside of his grandmother's house. That was after the label Trackmasters signed him. So 50 Cent said, I'm just getting back to work, and Puffy would call me to write. I remember my son's mom would answer, and I didn't want to get on the phone, like, no. And she was like, what the F, we need money. She's looking at me like, what? Why don't you want to talk to him? And 50 Cent would be like, I didn't want to ever party or hang out with him. Puff is a business person. When people call him a producer, I see people that were taken advantage of, who produced things that he took from them. He got the credit. He's not a producer. He's been able to take advantage of the business and the creatives in it. I don't have any interest in doing that. I actually fall under the creative. So I just didn't take to hanging out with that. Now 50 Cent has been asked, like, why aren't other celebrities speaking up like you are? He said some of them were involved at the parties and enjoyed themselves, so they don't know what the F is on tape or whatever's not on tape. So they're not gonna say anything because they might have had too much fun. And then you've got other people who look and go, well, that's not my business and I don't want to be in it. And he said, then you've got a part of our culture that says, that's snitching, or dry snitching, or stuff like that. And he said, it's not uncomfortable for me to say what I said because, well, I've been saying this for years. For like 4 years, 5 years, if not longer. He said, I've been telling you I don't F with him. I don't like the way he be moving. This is a little crazy. Everybody else is not going to be as comfortable as he is saying it. So, why aren't people comfortable saying things? Well, as allegations continue to surface about these parties, turns out anybody who went to these parties had to sign an NDA. And this was like a pretty standard agreement, like you can't share any information related to the disgraced music mogul himself, any of his partners, any of his family members, his friends, and his business associates. You also couldn't photograph, film, or record Puffy or anybody around him without written consent, and it explicitly named social media platforms where you could not post photos or videos of anything without permission. You were also told not to give interviews, write books, or discuss anything about Puffy or things seen at his parties. The NDA seems to cover anything that could get him into trouble. It does expire. Apparently it's valid for the length of Puffy's life plus 20 years or 70 years, whichever is longer. Yes, it's a pretty boilerplate NDA, but the basic gist of it is that if you went to the party, you need Puffy's written consent to share anything. Granted, it hasn't really held up in terms of keeping authorities out of his business. Look, funny little story from earlier this year, the city of Miami was like, we want our key back. So they gave him a key to the city back in 2015 after Revolt. Remember the whole Revolt music conference? He held it there and they were like, oh yeah. But then earlier this year, when the footage came out, the one of the bad things, and then he got arrested, Miami was like, no, we want that back. And also, apparently Miami Beach once had a Puffy Day. It occurred on October 13th. Yeah, that's not gonna happen ever again. One other friendship we should mention today, Puffy and Ashton Kutcher. These guys constantly praised each other over the last 20 years. Ashton made many an appearance at Puffy's infamous parties. There's photos, there's videos of them hanging out, and like it looks like Ashton was having a really good time. So when asked about the get-togethers, I think this was like a Hot Ones interview, Ashton said, I've got a lot I can't tell. And it looks like he was going through like a Rolodex in his head. He's like, can't tell that one either. I'm cycling through them. Party stories, man, like that was some weird memory lane thing. And well, please do tell them, Ashton. We could do with knowing. And that's all, folks. See ya!